Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to create a simple pivot table. Let us study the data that we have available right now. I am studying all the column headers we have available. I have the ID, transaction ID. I have completed at, which has both the date and time in it. We're going to be using that later. We have, of course, the score, which we are going to calculate the average of later in our pivot table. We have also the first and the last name of the agent. And I think those are the basic information that we need in order for us to create our pivot table. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is to insert a column and call it date because as I mentioned in column D in the completed at, it has both the date and time and we'd want to extract only the date from that cell. So the formula is INT, and of course always start your formula with an equal sign. INT and then the colon and click the cell where it's going to come from. Now I clicked enter and it still has this format. So what I do is to right click it and click format cells. And then I'm going to select date and just choose the first format because that's the usual date format anyway. And then now you have the date from this timestamp, October 3, 2020. And this needs to be copied all the way down to the last row, and we have 449 rows, but including the header, we have 448. So in order to copy that, there are actually several ways, but the technique that I'm going to show you is this. So when you hover over the cell, the cursor icon actually changes. So if you go to the lower right portion of the cell and you see this plus icon, you just have to click it or double click it, and then it will copy that formula all the way down to the last row. Okay, so now what I do, every time I add a column with formulas, I usually color it yellow so I know that it's a formula. Now, next thing that I need is, of course, the agent name in the report, right? But then I mentioned we have first and last name, but they are separated. So I want a new column. I'm going to add a new column. Let's call it agent name, but with both, sorry, with the name, the first name and the last name combined. So the formula is equal sign and then the column that we are going to put together. So first name, column O, and the last name. Now, when I enter this, you will see that, yes, it's combined, but there's no space in between. So I am going to add a space in between by adding quote, space, and quote, and then the ampersand symbol. So what this basically means is that you are going to combine column O and space and column P. So there you go. Now it has space in between. Then I am going to copy this again all the way down to the last row. And then another thing that I want to add to my report is to probably group them by team. So I am going to add another column. Let's call it team. But then, of course, this is just raw data and you don't have that anywhere from your exported file. So I am going to create a new sheet for my lookup table. Let me call it lookup table. All right. So now I have the agent name. What I do is to copy that and then paste it in the lookup table, into the lookup table as values. I don't want to copy it as is because it will also copy the formula, which will return blank because we don't have data here in the original columns that the formula is adding together. So now that you have the agent names listed, but then of course you'd see that they are repeatedly written in all the rows, what I do is to highlight that click data, and then remove duplicates. There's only one column there, so that shouldn't be difficult to decide. So we'll just click OK. And what this means is it's showing you now all the unique agent names from your raw data. So let's say, for example, all these agents belong to team 1, and then these agents belong to team 2, and then these agents belong to team 3. Now let's go back to our raw tab and use a VLOOKUP table. I'm going to teach you how to use this in a different video. So first I'm going to be looking for Aisha, and then go back to my lookup table and return the team. And there you go. So now I have the team for Aisha, and I'm going to be doing the same for everyone. So I'm going to be doing the same technique, double clicking it, and it goes all the way down to the last row. Now I think I have all the data I need. So I have the date, the agent name, the team, as well as the score. So those are the basic information that I need for my report. So now it's time to create our pivot table. So I am going to highlight everything from A all the way to the last row, or last column rather. And then I'm going to click insert and click pivot table. Now it's going to ask you to select the table or range, but you don't have to do that because you've already selected that in the beginning. And always click, not always, but in this case, click new worksheet. So it will open a new tab. So now I have the new sheet here. Now this will show in your right panel. So let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so now we have the pivot table fields available here on the top page. So we'd want the agent name to be here in the rows, and then we mentioned that we want their QA average to be there, so we know that that's going to come from the score column. So I am going to just click it and drag it to the values. That's what I also did with the agent name. So it will just, by default, it will show sum of score, which we do not want to be doing. So I am going to click that and then click value fields, and then I'm going to choose average. So you will notice that they have different formatting. So I'm going to just right click one of the cells and then click value field settings, click number format, and I'll click number and then just use 2 decimal places so it's uniform for all the cells for the QA average. And then I'll click OK. All right, so I also add the number of evaluations to my report. So I'm going to be using the same field, and I'm going to drag that here. And again, it defaulted to sum, but I need count instead of sum. So this means 20 evaluations, and the average is 100. And if you want the count of score or the count of evaluations to be the first one, there are 2 ways to do that. Either you drag it, so click this, and then when you see your cursor to be like this, you just drag it, click, and then drag it to the column B. Or, let me undo that. You can go here as well to your pivot table fields, and then go to the values panel, and then you drag it to the position that you want it to be in. So this is the typical report, the count of evaluations, and then the QA score. Now I want it to be filtered by date as well. So we have the filters section here. So I am going to drag the date there. So now I have the ability to select the dates that I need. So in this case, I am going to click select multiple items so that I can select either just one date or several dates or all of them. All right. And then let's say, for example, I want to see the score, the average score for October 8, 9, and 13 only. So then it will automatically calculate. All right. So now let me select all for now. And then I am going to add another factor here. I want it to be grouped by team. So that's what one of the things that we added to our raw data. So now we have the team column available here. So I'm going to drag that to the rows. So this means it's on top of agent. So you will see that it's team, and then under it, you will see the names who belong to that team. So in case that you accidentally place it under agent, this is what it's going to show. But just like what I mentioned, you can just drag that and change the position. All right. So now you have blank here. That's why we have this filter or drop down list here, because you can select only the teams that you want. So I'll click or untick blank just so we don't see the blank there. Okay, so there are also several ways to present this report. So let's say, for example, you don't want the evaluation count there or the count of evaluation there, and you want the date to be here so that you'd see their progression. So Aisha got 100 on October 3. Let's say for Christine, 93 on October 3, and then 100 on October 8. So this type of format is typically good if you want to see their progression. All right, so you can also add, if you want to add again the count of scores there, so they are side by side, you can do that too. So we have count of evaluation and then the score on October 3. But of course you just need to do, you know, some design modifications there, so it's not as, so it's going to be neat. All right, so let me return it to the typical view. So here, all right. So now that we have the basic report that we need, we do not want to show row labels or count of score or average score. This, by the way, can be edited. If you want this to be shown as agent name, you can do so. This is evaluation count, and then this is QA score. All right, and then you can do some formatting. If you want to go to design, you can also choose, you know, different colors. It's up to you. All right, now let me make sure that's good. And by the way, you can collapse this, but like that, or you can also right click and then you can expand the entire field, or you can do the same for collapsing the entire field. So if you want to see the team average side by side, you can use this view. So there are really a lot of ways to represent or to present your report. So it's up to you how you want it to be designed. So let me collapse that. I'm sorry. Let me expand the entire field. There you go. So some quality checking. Of course, we need to do that. It's not just about creating the pivot table. We also want to make sure that our data is accurate. So we have a total of 448. Is this correct? We went to our we went to our raw data earlier, and then I showed you that it's up to 449 rows, but including the row or the column header. So it means we have 448 rows, which translates to a total of 448 evaluations. So this is correct. This is good in case that you forgot to probably tick one of the teams, and then you'd see that, okay, there are only 279 here. It's because and you are going to report that the average of the entire account is 81.46, when in fact it's actually 79.19. It's because you forgot to tick the last team. Now, the last point that I want to discuss here is when we want to change the team, or maybe we added a new team. So let's say, for example, the first two names, Aisha and John, they belong now to team 4. You are not going to change that in the raw tab, but you go to your lookup table and change, say, sorry, team Aisha and John to be part of team 4 now. Okay, so it will automatically, since we have that formula to return the team from the lookup table, it will automatically get reflected in the raw tab, but not in our pivot table until we click data and then we click refresh. Okay, so now this is one of the things that you have to consider. It's now 409, but then okay, we added the team 4, but it's not yet reflected in our pivot table. It's because we have to choose that from the drop down. Typically, it's always select all, but then again, I did not want to show the blank there. That's why every time there's new information, it's not going to be automatically added there until you select it. So there, now I have again 448, but I have additional team 4 there. So there you have it. If you need to practice, I can provide you the same raw data that I used to create this pivot table. Thank you for watching.